Peter Fee here with you. Joined again today, we have Joe Van Horn, our stats and gambling fellow, and then we also have Steve Wright joining us once again from the great state of Colorado. Steve, how are you?
Doing well, man. I was doing a lot better before it started snowing outside, but things are going well here.
Yeah,
we thought the weather was bad in Ohio.
It's true. Happy spring, I guess.
Yeah, it's been nice here. It's been nice. It's been the 60s, sunny, but today it took a bad turn. So we'll see how the rest of the week shapes up.
And then Joe, how are you? You're in a car. I hope you're paying plenty of attention to the road.
Yeah, so you'll notice that I won't be looking at my phone the entire time because I am paying attention to the road. It is date night with my girlfriend, and I will refuse to be late because she terrifies me.
What a guy. Well, I had that loaded before you said because she terrifies you. So a bit questionable after that. So anyway, we have the Final Four coming up, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the favorites to win the NCAA March Madness tournament. Talking about the men's side for now. Who do you think is going to win? You got Michigan, Villanova, Kansas, and Loyola Chicago.
Virginia. Virginia's going to win.
You think Virginia's going to win? Yes, they were one of the...
At the beginning of the tournament, some kid asked me who I thought would win. I said, look, man, there are 1 seeds, and then there's Virginia. That's a direct quote.
So you're saying Virginia was not deserving of the number 1 seed?
No, I thought they were the bee's knees, man. I really thought they were legit. I have no explanation for what happened.
All right, fair enough. So in that first game, Loyola Chicago against Michigan, who are we taking overall? Steve, what do you think?
I'll take Michigan in that. I don't think. There have been 3 other 11 seeds all time, and they just don't fare well. I think when you get to this stage and teams don't have the same depth of talent, level of talent, it just shows up, more and more. And so they obviously killed in their last game, went down to the wire in the first few. I just think it'll catch up to them, and the talent of bigger conferences, bigger schools will catch up to them in this round.
I mean, Big Ten champs. How can you argue with that?
I think Michigan's a pretty darn good basketball team. They prove it last year. Didn't they get didn't they get pretty darn far last year as well in the tournament? Again, I don't have notes in front of me. I can't look these things up.
Jeff's computer crashed prior to us actually getting into this.
So that's why I am on my phone. So Michigan did well last year. They won the Big Ten tournament this year. They've gone far again this year into the Final Four. And I think Loyola's streak, I mean, I'm surprised they even made it through last weekend to get 2 more wins. But again, the whole South bracket has been kind of to crap with Virginia losing and all 4 top 4 seeds not even making it out of the first weekend. That's incredible. That's never happened before.
And so then, Joe, go ahead.
I have Michigan in your pool, so I guess I have to choose Michigan at this point because I really want that $20 Amazon gift card.
There you go.
So, but I actually read a pretty cool story the other day that is it Wagner? How do you say his name?
Faulkner.
Mo Faulkner? I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but I guess he used to I don't know his exact country of origin, but he used to watch the Wolverines, and his only dream was to go and play basketball for the Michigan Wolverines. And I just think his just intensity and his excitement for the game really carries a lot of weight with that team. And Michigan I thought they were at their best in the Big Ten tournament, but I think they're kind of proving that even the guys on the bench and the guys that you aren't expecting have really kind of stepped up in the NCAA tournament. So I think it's their game to lose. You can never, with a all-senior team like Loyola and a team that's been together that long, you can't count them out. But I think Michigan wins this by, 10, 15 points.
Yeah, the spreads of the teams, I mean, you look at Loyola, they've won by a max of 2 so far in March Madness. So I don't know. As a guy who doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to basketball, it seems like I'm going to go with the larger margins of victory here and go with Michigan.
Well, the funny thing is, Joe and I are in a work pool. We only have about 7 people in our department. So in the 7 brackets, 1 person actually chose Loyola to get to the Final Four. And, and it was one of those women that really knows absolutely nothing about college basketball. She
Picked
actually
by her
runs
favorite
the team.
colors.
Not that all women don't know things about college basketball.
I said it
Don't-
was one of those women.
Yeah. Come on, Jeff.
One of those women that knows. She self-admitted knows nothing about basketball. She actually says Sean's no clue bracket. So that's how she signed it. So, and I made fun of her for having Loyola in the Final Four, and little did I know she was correct.
All right, so it sounds like most of us have Michigan. Who was the Loyola person? Anybody?
I think Cinderella ends here.
Okay. Over to Villanova and Kansas, two number 1 seeds. They will play on the 31st. Who are we taking here? Steve, we'll start with you again.
I'm going with my Uncle Jay Wright. You know, he's got to stick with the family lineage.
Oh yeah, he definitely related.
Yep. Love Uncle Jay. He's been good to me. Loved watching him coach Villanova for the last several years, and they just have the best team in the tournament. So, I think they have the most talented team. They got a couple lottery picks up there. Maybe not the most talented when you look at the Duke and Kentucky, who will send guys to the who'll be lottery picks. But in terms of talent and cohesion on their team, I think they'll win it all. Actually, spoiler alert.
Oh,
we haven't got there yet.
Jeff, how about you?
I think this side of the bracket it clearly is all chalk. You got the 2-1 seeds in there. Really, I thought Duke might have been able to make a run. Came real close against Kansas going into overtime there in the Elite Eight game to get into the Final Four. I didn't think Kansas would even make it past the second or third round. I had them losing in my brackets. So clearly, I know so much as I'm in last place in all of my brackets. I think Villanova
You're behind me in the bracket for that one.
Wow. Oh yeah, the only bracket that has less points than mine is the coin flip bracket.
Yeah,
I had Arizona winning the whole thing.
Speaking of our bracket, yeah, you're at 380 points. The coin, who it was just heads or tails, that's at 260. The next closest is our good friend J.K. Dabe, and he's at 420.
I think Villanova is the better team here. I think Villanova has the chance to definitely get into the championship game.
I have Villanova going as well, and just because
I'm getting harassed in my office right now. Somebody just put a rock chalk sign on my door.
Modern day rock chalk.
I'll tell you, this is another team, Kansas, man. They've gotten so much stronger as the tournament's gone on. Graham and Newman are all both shooting pretty well, and Graham's more facilitating than he is scoring. But this is a game that's going to come down to threes, I think. Both these teams shoot high-volume threes. So at the end of the day, I think whoever's got the better percentage there is going to win this game. So, but, I mean, if you just want me to pick somebody, you know what? It's on my pool on your thing, Kansas. I'll go with Kansas. I'll ride with Kansas. I think they got a lot of momentum, and they're the underdogs here. They're out trying to prove something, and I think Bill Self might get it done.
All right, so that is the Final Four, and we're going to take a quick intermission. We have somebody that wants to get a few words in about being mad that we're not covering women's March Madness. So this is listener Seth joining the show. Seth, how are you today?
Hello, listener Seth.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Speak up, boy. We can't hear you.
How's it going?
Going pretty well. We're just kind of covering all of March Madness and our favorites in the Final Four. But you tend to prefer a different Final Four. Is that correct?
Yep. The women's Final Four, it's here in Columbus this weekend.
Yeah.
Louisville's in it. As you can tell, I'm a Louisville fan.
He was the big Lamar Jackson should win the Heisman contender guy.
Yep. He should have, absolutely.
I mean, if you look at the stats, I don't want to get into it. If you look at the stats, it was pretty good debate there. I'll give him.
So, Seth, what is better about women's March Madness compared to men's March Madness, or is it simply because Louisville is there?
I don't know that one's necessarily better than the other, but Louisville is a basketball crazy city, and we're the top market for college basketball for ESPN for 15 years straight. So having Louisville in the women's Final Four is a huge deal. Even more so this year because the men's basketball team only made it to the NIT. So,
Who's in the women's Final Four? It's
all the one
UConn.
seeds.
Yep. Mississippi State,
It's all-
UConn, Louisville, and last one's escaping me.
who's
Notre
the
Dame.
fourth one? Notre
Yeah, it's Notre Dame. Yep. So who do you have winning it all, Seth? Is it
How
UConn?
exciting, all 4 1 seeds. Seth, are you real? You gonna pick UConn or are you gonna pick Louisville?
What's that?
Are you gonna be real and pick UConn, or are you actually gonna be a true fan and pick Louisville?
We did pretty good against UConn earlier on in the season, and right now we're on fire. So I think we stand a pretty good chance.
Oh,
Look, I saw Louisville play in the Elite Eight. The team they beat escapes me, but they have a girl who straight up strokes from like 40 feet, like the Trae Young of women's basketball.
Asia
Like,
Durr.
there was just no limit for her range, and she was just stroking the whole game. So you know what? I'm all in on Louisville. Give it to me.
Yeah. No, I was showing John just the other day a video of Asia Durr, who is she's a shooter, man. She'll hit threes from anywhere on the court, anywhere around the 3-point line, and she's the ACC Player of the Year. She was the Regional Player of the Year. I think she'll be the MVP in the championship game.
All right, so there you go.
Ooh,
Thanks,
even throwing
Seth.
on MVP.
Yes. Yeah. Let's do a quick over/under. I'll set it at 10.5. The amount that UConn beats whoever's in the final game.
Over.
Well,
Almost
considering
immediately
I just did
over.
Louisville, I'll take the under.
All right. So our gambler taking the under there, and Seth, what are you taking?
What'd you say the over under?
10.5. UConn beating whatever team is there.
Under.
You're gonna take the under.
Under
There we
10.5.
Is that because Louisville is gonna be the one that is playing them?
I sure hope so.
All right. So, Seth, if you want to stick around, we're going to kick it back over to the men's side, but you're free to hang out as long as you want, man.
Cool.
Thanks for
That's fine.
joining us. So we'll kick it back over to the final game of the men's NCAA tournament. And, Steve, we'll start with you. Who, since you kind of spoiled it already, who do you think is going to win it all?
Yeah, I think Villanova will win it all. I also can't. I don't think I'd be able to say Michigan's going to win it all in anything. I was looking at the Frozen Four. I wouldn't say they're going to win that either. Just 'cause I don't think I have it in me.
You think it's going to be a
the Final
terrible
Four
weekend?
and the Frozen Four.
Yeah. So I would say that alone. I do like John Beilein. I loved him when he was at West Virginia and watching those teams play. And I actually don't mind watching his teams at Michigan play over the last several years, but there's just something in me. You just can't do it. I see Jeff rocking the Ohio State right now. I wish I had a little more. But yeah, so Villanova over Michigan by double digits.
Ooh,
Right.
double digits.
Impressive. Is that like a low double digits, or is that
Yeah.
Okay.
10 to
Like
12.
35 points.
10 to 12.
all right? So, Joe, let's go to you.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Michigan. I gotta follow my heart here. I just think they're playing a very good team basketball game, and my prediction is that whoever comes out of that other side of the bracket, Kansas or whatever, goes cold in the final. And Michigan just has a few more ways I think that they can get it done.
All right, Joe, you going with your heart or you going with your bracket?
Yeah,
trying to win
I was
that
going to
spot?
say, like, your heart belongs to Michigan. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm not sure how clear I was about winning this $20 Amazon gift card.
It's a huge
But
pot.
I'm
It's
pretty
a
all
huge pot. Joe, what are you gonna spend that $20 on? You already talked to me about it. Tell everyone.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to buy as many boxes. I might do generic to make it work. Reese's Puffs cereal. And I'm going to take a picture every week of a bowl of cereal I eat every week for 52 weeks and put it on your page. And say thank you for this delicious treat you have given me.
So we got a Villanova, we got a Michigan. Jeff?
Loyola, let's do it. Let's go there. I'm going. I'm all in. Riding the train. Even though I said Loyola lose to Michigan, I got Loyola winning the whole thing. Somehow they'll lose to Michigan, yet win the championship.
All right. Well, since we've hit 3 so far, I'll go ahead and go with Kansas. I didn't even pick them to make it out of the Final Four, but I'll roll with Kansas and see what happens for the sake of
We've all
argument.
got a new one.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
We've all got someone different.
We talked briefly about Loyola, and Jeff, you picked them to win it all, but let's be real. What has to happen for them to actually win the NCAA championship?
They have to be able to shoot the ball as well as they've been shooting so far this season. They were lights out clearly in the first round against well, I don't know if I want to say lights out, but they played well against Virginia, and Virginia played poorly. So they're going to need similar to the same thing to happen against Michigan. Michigan's going to have to take them for granted that they're an 11 seed in a mid-major that shouldn't be there, and Michigan's going to have to play down. And Loyola continue the run that they're on, playing as the best basketball that they've ever played. And Joe already mentioned it. There are a bunch of senior leadership on that team. There's a lot of seniors that know that this is the end of the run for them. They're not going to be playing in the NBA. So these guys have to leave it all on the table and see what they can come out with. And even then, it still might not be enough.
Steve, what do you think? Agree, disagree?
I agree. Yeah, I think it'll have to be a perfect game on the Loyola side and a pretty highly imperfect game on the Michigan side for any chance there. Both teams are playing at about the same level, relative to their strengths and skills. I think Michigan wins. All
right, so Michigan going to beat Loyola there. And sorry, adjusting Jeff now that his computer is working.
Yes,
again.
My computer's back.
Yeah. Do you have your headphones plugged in? Sounds like you're echoing, man.
Yes.
All right.
I undid the phone. It's all headphones now.
It's all right.
Sound good?
So overall,
did we lose Joe?
I don't know. I think he's still there.
I'm still here.
Right.
It's just frozen, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That's okay. All that data you're eating up. Appreciate that.
Right, yeah, it's for you guys.
So overall, it sounds like Loyola not going to have a great time here in the Final Four.
I mean, they do. If they get luck, I think it comes down to luck. Just the other teams maybe not playing up to what they can play up to. But they do have at least one guy who's potentially going to be in the NBA. And, again, they don't have bad players on the team. They just don't have those top athletes that all these other big schools are pulling in. So, I mean, they've made it this far. The fact that anybody would discount them at this point, I think that's kind of, I don't know. I think that's a little passive. I think you really got to take a look and think that these guys might just actually do this thing.
Yeah, so Loyola, only the 4th 11 seed to actually make the Final Four. So pretty cool for all those folks. And as Jeff, you said.
Who were the other? George Mason?
LSU, George Mason, and Virginia Commonwealth.
BCU and George Mason were relatively recently, right? In the past, 10 years or so.
Yeah, George Mason and Virginia, it was 2006 and 2011, respectively. So.
Yeah.
Wasn't Butler an 8 seed or something, and they did it?
They made the finals, yeah, just a year, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
How long ago was Butler in there?
I don't know. We're getting old, so time is tough.
2010 and 11.
2010, 11. God.
I think 2010 they lost to Duke. 2011 they lost to UConn.
That was a really bad game. That UConn game.
Oh, it was horrible.
49-51 or something stupid.
Yeah. So as we're winding down the basketball section, our listener who joined us briefly, Seth, had a couple more questions that he wanted to send our way. One of those being, why not watch more women's basketball? So the question first is, how many men's basketball games do you think you've watched this season, NCAA-wise?
Complete games, beginning to end?
Most of, 60% or more.
I'd say it would be less than 10. Somewhere between 5 and 10, I would throw out.
I watched a lot, so I would say probably 30. Does that seem aggressive?
It's
a little aggressive.
How many of those were you actually invested in, not monetarily?
I would say about half. I honestly really enjoyed the it just seemed like the parity across the league was really nice, and everybody could beat everybody, and so it just wasn't a blowout of the better team every night. So it was really enjoyable this year.
Nice.
And when I say that, clearly I mean Joe has side bets with friends.
Is that what you mean? All right, Steve.
Yes.
How about you?
Probably less than 8. Not a lot. I also bought NBA League Pass this year, so if I was watching basketball, I was watching NBA most likely.
Got it. So I've probably watched less than probably watched 2 total this year. So it sounds like a majority of the time we're just kind of getting the updates, other than Joe. But yeah, I guess any particular reason why women's basketball isn't higher up on the list?
Yes.
Yeah, you go ahead and be the sexist one here, Steve.
I'll tell you my plan for women's basketball, and
Here we
you
go.
can call it whatever you want, but I think it would honestly make the game much more exciting because the pace of play is there. Like, they move the ball. That's not the issue. I think the issue is all you do is you lower the rim about a foot and a half, and I know that might mess up shooters for a while, but the thought of some of these girls throwing it down, because I mean we live for the dunks, we live for the alley oops, we live for the big time plays under the rim, and I mean threes are not really that exciting. So I just think they need more play in the post.
You equal the athleticism. You balance out the athleticism.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, how cool would it be? I mean, every once in a while we get a Brittany Griner or something who can actually dunk, but it's not even like they're flying through the air dunking. They're like,
when I think
hop under the rim and throw it down. So I
think Steve and I can kind of relate to this. Is in the volleyball game. You know, the men's net is a little bit higher than the women's net. In women's volleyball is still fun to watch, even though it's different than the men's volleyball game. But it's just as fun for me to watch women's volleyball as it is to watch men's volleyball. So why not lower the rims, lower the net for the women, and get a little bit more athletic there?
And then Steve, thoughts?
I don't really have any thoughts, but I'm going to throw a question back to your Louisville fan
All right.
fan guy. His name. But he said earlier, like the Louisville Connecticut game was close earlier in the year. It was 24-6 after the first quarter.
so not all that close.
It was a 20-point game at halftime, and then probably as the scrubs came in, it ended up being an 11-point game. So I don't know that.
Hey.
I don't know enough to say that Louisville's not hot right now. They probably are playing well to be where they are, but it wasn't exactly a nail biter.
Gotcha. So I'll make sure that he
That's
hears
close
that
for
and we
UConn.
relay that along. Yeah.
It is close for UConn. It was probably one of their 5 closest games of the year.
So real quick question then. It looks like Joe had to drop out. But he brought up a pretty good point. I mean, I hadn't thought about that for women's basketball, but which comes first, lowering the hoop or actually paying college players to play sports?
Paying college players.
Paying college players.
All right. I figured that would be the answer, but had to ask the question. And
I
then-
honestly think there'll be some sort of payment here within the next 5 years.
So what comes first, a 4-point line in the NBA or lowering the hoop in women's basketball?
Ooh. You have the 4-pointer in the Big 3, don't you?
Yeah.
And I
I'd
think
go.
they had it at All-Star Weekend or in like the celebrity game or something like that.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to go lowering the hoop. Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, that's.
I don't think either are going to happen.
Well, they're experimenting. The NIT this year did the widened lanes, and the 3-point line was moved back, right? And they've been experimenting with quarters versus halves and a couple of other different rules that they're trying to change out. They already shortened the shot clock, so that's one rule that has stuck for college basketball.
All right. Any final thoughts basketball-wise before we head into the March Madness Final Four weekend?
Not for me. Looking forward to watch it. I'll watch 50% of my total watching will probably be this weekend. So looking forward to watching a few games, though, for sure.
All right, Jeff, anything else?
I will be in Chicago this weekend, so I hope that I'm able to go to a bar and with a couple of Loyola fans going nutty out in Chicago. So that should be interesting if I'm able to make it out.
Make sure you post lots of Snapchats.
Oh, yes,
Send
absolutely.
them all. All right, well, thanks again, Steve Wright, for joining us. And as always, I'm John Hartley.
I'm Jeff Peterfee.
Saying a goodbye.
For Steve and Joe, saying goodbye. Thanks, Steve.
All right, welcome to That One Sports Show. John Hartley and Jeff Peterfee here with you, and we're actually on a Peer In right now. So if you're watching this on YouTube live, you can actually join us throughout the show. Just go to appear.in/That One Sports Show. Otherwise, watch us on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes. We're still putting this out as a podcast. So this is our headline show, which is number 138. Or no, why did I say 138? It's 140. It's clearly 140.
Clearly, John, you don't know.
Look, man, I am the one that does the numbers every single week. I should.
You're right. I have no idea.
Yeah. So big week in sports, as always, and we're here to go over the major headlines. One thing we tried to talk about last week, but if you were actually watching the live stream, I screwed it up. Couldn't hear me at all. So we're going to talk about the AAF and the XFL one more time. So the AAF is the Awesome As F Football League. That's not true.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
Oh, what is it then, Jeff?
The Alliance of American Football.
There you go. And who created this AAF league?
Dick Ebersol's son.
Yeah, Mr. Charlie Ebersol. And last week we talked a bit about how crazy it was that Charlie Ebersol made the 30-30 about the XFL. Now, as soon as the XFL comes out and says that they're going to restart, Vince McMahon said that, he goes and creates the AAF. So there's something shady going on. Nobody's really sure quite what's happening, whether Charlie Ebersol is stealing the thunder and the AAF is going to be better, or if the XFL wasn't ever going to exist. Thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah, it's all confusing to me, and it's all not happening right now. So it's a lot of things that we could just keep talking about and never have answers to. Whether or not this is actually going to be a legitimate league is a whole other question of, is it the AAF versus the XFL, and which one's real and which one's going to win? Neither of them are going to be anything close to a competitor to the NFL.
You don't think so?
That is what is truth.
Huh. All right, well,
Take it to the bank.
I'm not even going to ask about what you think about the Spring Football League then. The one
Spring
where
Football League is worthwhile.
Oh, all right. So what's the difference between the two? I mean, both can be a platform to
whatever there are for the Spring Football League.
But yeah, they have two
Spring
games.
Football League is run by the NFL, isn't it?
Not officially. They hope to eventually be connected to the NFL.
Are we talking about the one that has all of the
free agents and that sort of
all
thing?
All the free agents and old guys and undrafted players?
Yep.
Yeah. I thought that was not run by the NFL.
I don't know. I don't think it is officially. Last I checked, I don't think why. I don't think it is.
If the NFL absorbs one of these leagues, which I really don't think that will happen, if they do, it'd be great. The NFL needs some sort of minor league that isn't the NCAA.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you get into all sorts of issues with that whole payment of players if you're kind of combined with the NBA. Or not, and NCAA. Jeez.
The intriguing thing to actually get back to what we started talking about. The intriguing thing about the AAF is the names that are behind it. Bill Polian's in there with Troy Polamalu, Hines Ward, Justin Tuck, Dick Ebersol, Charlie Ebersol, bunch of big names. I've heard Jared Allen's in this as well. All these names of former NFL players and figures that are getting in on this AAF and trying to make it a legitimate franchise, a legitimate league. CBS Sports has already declared that they will have the inaugural game on CBS. So that'll be national coverage for the inaugural game. They're going to have some other games on CBS Sports Network. So it's already getting some movement and some momentum without even being a real thing.
That's true. Well, are you going to watch it?
It was founded last week.
Yeah.
Was that?
No, it wasn't technically founded last week. It was just announced last week.
According to Wikipedia, it was founded March 20th,
2018. Well, maybe their version of founding is as soon as somebody actually says something to the public about it.
League set to play February of 2019, 1 week after the Super Bowl.
Got it. So
the very next Super Bowl.
Will you watch the AAF?
Yes.
The like be invested in it. Last time we talked about this, you're like, probably not.
I will watch the first game.
You'll watch the first game.
I will probably not be invested in it.
Okay. What about the XFL? Would you watch any of the XFL?
Maybe a little bit.
All right.
But that's about it.
So I would probably, well, all right. Let's go back real quick to the Big Three. We talked about the Big Three. We're like, oh, cool, another basketball thing. Maybe we'll actually watch this. We watched the first episode, the first couple of games, and it was just so boring.
Yeah.
It was such bad basketball, and that was the issue with the XFL the first time around. So I'm curious if the AAF or the new XFL is actually going to pull through and have entertaining games.
From watching the 30 for 30 about the XFL kind of premiered before I knew anything about anything. Like, I wasn't smart enough to know what was going on. I didn't know anything about broadcasting and anything along those lines. And I thought I knew something about football, but this was a whole new game and everything was different. The XFL, watching that 30 for 30, pretty much broke the internet before that was a thing. It was so popular the first game that they thought everything was going to be great.
Yep.
And then everything shut down because it was too popular, essentially, and during that game. And then it had to be pushed back. It was an overtime game. The first game was real close. It was very competitive. And then everything was crap after that.
Yeah.
Like, it was the best start you could have asked for other than, the mechanical issues, technical difficulties. And then it was just an awful product on the field after that.
They peaked too soon. Yeah. And it's the trouble with being too popular.
The two best things about the XFL were He Hate Me and Tommy Maddox.
Yeah.
And you see where those guys went.
Yeah, Tommy Maddox went on to be a quarterback for the Steelers.
And He Hate Me, Rod Smart was a running back for the Panthers, I believe, or a safety. Or, I don't know, he played for the Panthers.
Yeah. So I'll give it a shot. I liked the XFL. It was the last time that Las Vegas actually had a team. So they'll be happy to
they
get
have
the
one
Raiders.
now.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. Shorter play clock, no kickoffs. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't know. So some of the people involved with the AAF will be the coaches that are actually coaching the team, which brings me to our next topic, which is coaches in general. You had sent me this Esquire article about old school coaches and how, we're okay, or the writer of the article is okay with their coach kind of yelling at their children, instead of the coddling that some parents are insisting upon these days. Like, don't yell at my kid, that sort of thing. So are you for those types of coaches, ones that really dig into you and yell at you?
I have, in my experience as a coach, and I've been coaching high school girls volleyball for the past 5 years or so. So I don't have an extensive amount of coaching. I coach club. It's not, super into it. We are very successful national, but it's not like I'm a college coach. So I coach I get about half of my parents every year tell me, you can rip into my kid. You give her what she needs. I mean, she can handle it and she needs it. She needs to be yelled at. She needs to be, I don't want to say rough, but whatever. You got to tell it how it is and tell her basically that she's sucking. You're allowed to do that, So I get parents that are saying that, then the other parents are quiet. So I don't know what I am and I'm not could do.
Yeah.
I'm the type of guy that I get more mad when you aren't giving effort than if you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So do you use more of the, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed with your players, or?
I sometimes have an anger issue during matches.
Oh,
I'll say that.
Interesting.
And I get real mad at refs and then come back to my players and try to be cool and collected, but I don't think that works.
Yeah.
Recently, I've been trying to change that attitude of my coaching. I've been trying to change my coaching style. I've taken a step back and looked at myself in the mirror and said, okay, this is probably not what I should be doing. I need to relax. I need to take it down a notch, Yeah. It's not helping the team for me to yell at the ref like that. So I need to reset my focus toward helping the girls on the court instead of yelling at the ref, because that gets us nowhere.
Less Bobby
so I don't
Knight.
yell. I don't yell at players. I might get stern. I might get a little bit, hard on them
Yep.
if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But not because they can't do it. It's because they won't do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. So no Bobby Knight persona for you. That's what you're trying to avoid.
I don't get mad at the girls who suck. I
Yep.
get mad at the girls who are good and don't try.
Yeah. So coaches that you've had in the past, though, which coaches which personalities stand out the most? Is it more the quiet, or is it they did the same thing where they yelled at you because they knew you had more in you, but you just weren't really putting forth the effort?
If I'm looking, I can look at it in two different ways. I can look at football coaches. Those were coaches that yelled at me, yelled at us a little bit more, and then the two most influential coaches in my life were volleyball coaches that were quiet. One that benched me, the first time I've ever been benched in my life.
Jeez.
And she, kind of set me down the right path here and changed me a little bit. And another coach who was very quiet, calm, cool, and collected, and he shaped me in college, But in high school, you're looking at football coaches, there was a lot more yelling in football. It's a much more aggressive game. So you got to get different kinds of emotions out of your players, and yelling will get that emotion that you might need in football, a little bit more aggression.
Yeah. I think my best coaches came from wrestling and football, and I had, my dad drilled into me as a kid, like as I was playing these sports, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I got chewed out earlier today. Essentially, like as soon as they stopped yelling at you, that's when they've stopped caring. And so that's kind of the nice way of looking at it. But there's definitely some truth to that. Like, as you were saying, they know that there's something deep down where like there's more effort that you can give. Why aren't you giving it? That's one thing.
That's exactly what I said. I don't get mad at the girls who can't do it. I get mad at the girls who won't do it.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Michigan, the state up north. Just drive north till you smell it, right?
Ugh. I lived in Toledo, man. You could smell it every day.
So Michigan has made the Final Four.
University of Michigan made the Final Four and the Frozen Four.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool for that school.
Final Four of the men's basketball tournament, and then Frozen Four, which is men's hockey.
Correct.
In case people were unaware as to what those both were.
Correct.
Who do you think has a better shot of winning it all?
Michigan
hockey team, basketball. Okay. All right.
Although I know absolutely nothing about college hockey.
Both of them are going to lose first round.
I do know that the Big Ten has has 3 of the 4 teams in the Frozen Four.
That is good. It's pretty good.
Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, and Minnesota Duluth is the 4th team.
Duluth Trading Company, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Is that where it is?
No relation.
Yeah, most likely. Will you be watching any of the A, basketball Final Four, or B, Frozen Four?
No.
Okay.
Final Four, yes. Frozen Four, no.
Why not the Frozen Four?
I don't think I've ever watched anything more than a couple of highlights of college hockey in my life.
Gotcha. That's fair. And then opening day for baseball kicks off. If you're listening to this, it kicks off the day of the release. But if you're watching this, then it kicks off either way on March 29th.
Kicks off or pitches off or
leads
off. There you go.
Yeah, leads off. There we go. Yeah, so pretty much every team is playing on the 29th. Indians will be back home, I think, in 9 days now. So beginning of April is when they'll actually have
it's been so long since I've had a home game.
The Indians?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. Some teams it's been longer than others because they weren't in the playoffs. So we all know that Jeff isn't going to watch any baseball this year. He wouldn't even join my fantasy baseball league.
You were the only person in the fantasy baseball league.
Yeah, and it would have been great. It would have been an all-star draft for both of us, and you just turned your nose up at it. I tried basketball this year, and you're like,
there's still time. I'll join one.
Nope.
We could do one.
No, it's too late. The offer is
League
gone.
doesn't open until tomorrow. It's not too late.
I'm just gonna play dailies. I'm not gonna deal with it. Can't stand you, Jeff. We'll move on to the important standings before we get in a real fight. The Columbus Crew sitting at 3-0-1. They are tied for first in the MLS. They won their game this past week 3-1. 3-1. So pretty sweet. That was at home too. They have won, I want to say, all their home games 3-1. No, they had one that was a draw, I think, at home. Maybe.
Sure.
Regardless, they beat DC United, and this week they will play Vancouver on Saturday. Columbus Blue Jackets, they're making their way up to the top of the rankings. They are 43-29-5, turning it on at the right time. Third in the Metropolitan Division, and they are 1 point back of Pitt for second place in that Metropolitan Division.
They're making a push. They had a 10-game winning streak that was just snapped on Saturday. Came back with another big win last night against Edmonton. Down 3-0 in the first period, only to tie it up 3-3 at the end of the first period. Go on to win 7-3 against Edmonton.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting game, if you were following along with that one. So beat Florida, beat Edmonton.
You know I
lost to
wasn't.
St. Louis. I've been following the Blue Jackets here since they've come on hot down the end of the stretch.
Yeah.
Listening on the radio a little bit, and just staying updated just a little bit. I have not watched anything. It's all listening on the radio and catching up online.
Well,
That counts, right? That counts for something.
That's good enough. That's good enough.
There's less than 10 games left for the Blue Jackets. So it's coming into the home stretch. About 2 weeks left. They got 3 games in this next week at Calgary, at Vancouver, and home versus Detroit. Clearly, they're on a road. What am I saying? They're on a road trip right now because the women's Final Four is in Nationwide Arena.
Yeah.
So 3 games in Canada, a Western Canada road trip: Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver, all 3 in a row.
Well, that's it's rough.
Yeah.
It's a long road trip, and it's in Canada. It's a whole different country up there, but you get unlimited poutine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Poutine's the best.
The Cavaliers.
Have you? Hold on. Have you ever had poutine?
French fries with gravy?
Yeah, and cheese curds on top.
No.
What?
I've had it. Yes, I have had it. Yes.
You have or you haven't? With the cheese curds on
I
top.
have had it. Yes.
All right.
But no, I didn't enjoy it.
Why?
I don't know. It was weird. I'm a consistency guy.
We're becoming less of friends this
That's
episode. Okay. Cleveland Cavaliers, pretty good friends with each other these days, 44 and 30.
Kind of.
They're,
sort of.
Well, more so than they were now that Isaiah Thomas is gone. They're first in the Central Division, third in the Eastern Conference.
But they're only half game away from not having home court advantage in the first round.
Yeah, is that such a big deal, though? No.
It's a deal.
You have LeBron. It doesn't matter.
It's a deal.
LeBron is not going to ever lose the first round of the playoffs.
The Cavs are in trouble. Okay? For Cavs standards, the Cavs are in trouble this year.
Yeah. LeBron, though, will carry the team as he always does.
How bad the Suns are. But the Cavs, for Cavs standards, are in trouble, and they might not make it out of the East this year.
Disagree.
Hot take.
The hot take there. Not making it out of the East. They'll play Wednesday against Charlotte, Friday against New Orleans, Sunday against Dallas, and Tuesday against Toronto. Phoenix Suns. Jeff, I'll let you take this one. It's your team.
We're so good.
Yeah. When was the last time you won?
They've won 3 games in their last 30. They've had 5 wins in the year of 2018. 4 of those wins were in January.
Yeah, well.
Their last win was February 28th.
Talk to me once.
Not won in March, and are looking to. We talked about this in February because they hadn't won in February until the final day of February.
Yeah.
So they need to win Wednesday night or Friday night, to avoid the first 0 month in club history.
And it's not looking good though, because they got to play the Clippers, Houston, and Golden
leading
State.
Houston at Houston.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's going to be so sad.
But on a positive note, we are leading for the lottery. We have the worst record in the league.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
And Tyson Chandler says the Suns could make the playoffs next year.
Well, at least that's something.
Get DeAndre Ayton in here. We're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Ayton for Ayton.
Gayton. Remember last week? We talked about that. Anyway, or 2 weeks ago. So let's move into the fun and games. Next week in the important standings, we'll have Indians, Reds. Make sure that those guys are in there since they are Ohio teams. Toss-up from last week was, will LeBron score a triple-double against the Suns on Friday? I said yes. You said no. You were correct.
Aha!
You advanced further
right.
ahead
of
of me.
course.
Yeah. Jeff is now at 9-3. I am at 6-6 on the season.
I got to build on a lead here since I got my butt kicked in last year's.
You did. Yes. But not by that much. You only lost by 4. It wasn't that bad.
8.
Yeah, well, four wins. Wins is really the only thing that matters because we're always going to have an equal number of everything.
Well, that's not true. We could both say yes to this week's. Will one player have multiple home runs on Thursday's opening day? Will somebody have a multi-home run game?
I'll go with
in the
yes.
first game of the season?
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say no.
What? Aaron Judge is going to hit 2. He or Giancarlo Stanton. Watch that.
Aaron
Yankees
Judge is
game.
not going to get 50 this year.
Disagree.
I'll put that in a gentleman's bet.
Yeah, all right. Mark it down. Also this week, the Would You Rather, Louisville will have a new coach this year. Rick Pitino was disgracefully exited.
Ousted.
Shouldn't have been, but anyway.
Was disgracefully exited.
It works. So Chris Mack, former coach of Xavier, will be the new Louisville head coach. I think it's a good move for Louisville. I think it's a good get. It's not as good as Chris Holtman coming from Butler to Ohio State, but it is still
it might be better.
Potentially.
Xavier's been a pretty darn good team, and Chris Mack is not going to have to change anything. He's going to have the same recruiting area. Louisville's only about an hour away from Xavier in Cincinnati, so he's going to have the same recruiting footprint. And he's going to be able to recruit the same exact kids, only better, because Louisville's got more history and prestige than Xavier does.
Yep.
Xavier been a good team recently, but still a small, quote-unquote, smaller school. And Louisville is one of the maybe top 5 most historic basketball colleges in the country. You know, you got, Kentucky, Kansas, Kentucky, Kansas, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Duke, and maybe Louisville would be that 5th one, I think. Who else is a bigger basketball school?
Yeah. I mean, Louisville holds a huge chunk of the market. I don't know exact numbers, but
so the
it's
state of
very
Kentucky is
high.
split. The state of North Carolina is split, and then Kansas owns, the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that effect, we have, Chris Mack coming in, and did I get his name right? Yeah. That's what it is.
Chris Mack.
Okay. I thought I said something different earlier. Anyway, would you rather have a new coach that you don't like or transfer schools and not get to play?
What year am I?
What year are you? Oh, you're a sophomore.
I'm a sophomore.
Yep.
And have I already been redshirted?
No. You have not been redshirted.
Oh. Well, then I would transfer. Take a redshirt, and I still have 2 more years of eligibility.
Why not just go to the NBA draft if you're a sophomore?
Because I'm not good enough.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a good case. What makes you think you're going to be good enough to go on another team, though?
Well, if I'm good enough to play for Louisville, to be on Louisville's team, I'm sure I'm good enough to play for another team.
I didn't say you were on Louisville's team. It was just in that vein because Louisville is getting a new head coach. So let's put you on Akron. Put you on the Zips.
Oof.
Yeah.
Ooh, they're not good.
So would you stay with a coach you don't like, or would you transfer?
I would transfer. I'm sure I could find a D2 program or something like that where I could be a star.
Move on over to Kent State. Just be like, hey, guys. I'm ready to play.
Hey, guys. What's
Yeah.
up?
I don't know. I think I would rather have a coach that I didn't like and get to play. And I honestly, if I'm a sophomore, I don't want to move schools. I don't want to change my location. I have all my friends that I made my freshman year, which, those are the friends for the rest of your life. You never change after that. Just kidding.
Yeah, what happened to you?
Huh?
You and I didn't become friends.
It's true.
My freshman year.
Yeah. So sophomore year for me. Freshman
not
year for
true.
you, though. So we're still friends, I think.
We
Maybe.
met each other that year.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I think that'll do it. Do you have anything else for the headlines episode?
I'm sure there is plenty of things to talk about. Tiger Woods is like the tickets for the Masters are like $1,800 for the weekend.
That's crazy.
They're going like $400, $500 for a day just because of Tiger Woods.
One day at the Final Four here in Columbus for the women's Final Four is like $275.
Well, good. Hopefully the girls get some of that money.
Oh, they won't because
the New York Giants are trying to trade OBJ.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham
Kind of.
asking for 2 first-round picks.
Kind of. John Mara says that they're not going to do it. He's like,
And the Cowboys are saying that they're definitely cutting Dez Bryant come June.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys beat reporter is saying that the Cowboys are definitely cutting Dez Bryant come June.
Unless they can find a trade for him.
Right.
Yeah.
Which won't happen if everyone knows that he's going to be cut. So he's due to make like $16 million this year. If they cut him after June 1st, then it doesn't hit the books. But if they cut him before that, then it hits the book. Whatever weird contract, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So he'll get picked up immediately after getting cut, but it'll only be for about $6-7 million instead of $16 million.
To the Browns.
Do you want Dez?
No. All right, so that'll do it. Be sure to check out Skull and Bones, released every single Friday. The headlines episode, is released every single Thursday. So subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube. You can watch us live, or you can watch the live stream after it's done and over with. Yeah, find us on Facebook, Twitter @Toss Podcast. Till next time, I'm John Hartley.
I'm Jeff Peterfy.
Saying a goodbye.
Grow your beards.
Grow your beards. Skull and Bones, welcome to Skull and Bones. This is off-season week 8, and things are going pretty good. Things are going pretty well. Browns haven't gotten rid of anybody yet, so that's always a good thing.
Browns haven't lost in a while either.
They also haven't won in quite a long time.
You're right.
But that's okay. Let's start with the Vikings. There's not a whole lot of news there, so we'll go with you.
Not too much on that front. A little bit of drama. Mike Zimmer's been making a couple of comments that are about former players that are a little questionable. Said something about Teddy Bridgewater, saying his tests in his left knee revealed a little bit of concerns. People are saying whether or not he actually should have said that, but they were saying that in 24 injuries that were similar to Bridgewater's, the earliest that someone had returned was 24 months. And Bridgewater came back to practice 14 to 15 months after the injury. So a little bit of concern. Some of the tests showed a little bit of concern. That's why I guess the Vikings were able to let him go like they did, instead of trying to take a waiver on him to maybe be, Kirk Cousins' backup for a cheap deal. So let him go. He made some comments about, Sharif Floyd, a former defensive tackle for the Vikings, made some comments about some former comments that Mike Zimmer made. So
that's confusing.
He said.
Yeah. Pretty much just everybody just needing to calm themselves down. Yeah.
The off-season, man.
Yeah.
These beat writers got to find something to talk about.
Yeah.
And the Vikings re-signed their punt returner, Marcus Sherrills, to a 1-year deal.
Hey, there you go. That's something.
Yep. That's pretty much, and everything else is it Super Bowl or bust with Kirk Cousins for the Vikings, blah, blah, blah. So
impressive. All right, well, we'll move on over to the Browns then.
Hopefully it was more interesting for the Browns.
It is a bit interesting, and mainly because they have the first pick overall in the draft. And the main question now is, who are they going to pick? Is it going to be Sam
All the pro days
Darnold?
have happened, John.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield had a good pro day. Sam Darnold had a good pro day. And
John Manziel had a couple of pro days.
Yeah, I don't know if we could call any of those good, though. He looked acceptable. I completed 38 out of 40 passes. Yeah.
Is he going to get picked up by an NFL team?
Maybe he's like a third string. Like I don't see anybody really taking a big chance.
I think he's going to have to prove it in the CFL.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel, just overall, I don't see him coming back. He's at least never going to be a Brown again. They're not going to make that mistake twice.
Oh God, I hope that.
Yeah. Browns have been updated to not the worst for Super Bowl odds. They are down at 66-1 odds. Miami's at 70-1. Chicago's at 80-1. Cincinnati's at 90-1. And the New York Jets, who picked up Teddy Bridgewater, are at 100-1. So not even second to last.
In the power rankings, they are 29th, I believe.
I know. Moving up just from off-season moves. It's great.
Miami Dolphins are 32nd. So
yeah.
There's that.
So like I said, the big discussion now is quarterback-wise, who are the Browns going to take? And a lot of people pointing to Sam Darnold. He threw in the rain. He can throw in the rain. It's fine. It'll be great in Cleveland. And then you have Mel Kiper and crew that are saying,
like Boston. He threw in the rain. He'll be fine.
I don't know.
New York.
Voices just come out.
He threw in the rain. He threw in the rain. He'll be fine in Cleveland.
He threw in the rain.
You should go to Cleveland.
Yeah, there you go. But Mel Kiper's saying, "Oh, the Browns are gonna take Josh Allen." So out of Wyoming, and
His latest mock draft.
I was looking up some Josh Allen stuff, and against Power 5 teams, he was 0-3 in his career. Had a completion percentage of 50.
That Wyoming, and he had no one to catch. He's got the physical tools, but he has a lot of refining to do, and I don't know if the Browns are the right place for that to happen.
So essentially, he's like a big thing of marble right now, and the Browns would have to cut away a ton in order to get down to just a quarterback.
He is a cube of marble, so you have to carve a sculpture out of a cube.
So you have to
get a lot to chip away.
First, you got to get to a rectangular prism, and then you can actually start going down.
Exactly.
The scary fact there is that he had 1 touchdown to 8 interceptions against Power 5 teams.
Whoopsie.
So,
sounds like great stats.
Yeah, he's pretty good, man. 142 passing yards per game in those games.
That's great stats.
Yeah,
gonna be a star in the NFL.
Could be a star. So it's off season. One of the reasons potentially that the Jets are now the worst Super Bowl odds. They have acquired the top quarterback, running back, and wide receiver from the 2016 Browns that went 1-15. So they have Josh McCown.
Is that Josh McCown?
Isaiah Crowell, and now Terrell Pryor.
Oh, no.
So the threesome is there.
Oh, no.
Everything is just ready to go for another 1-15 season.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
Yeah. So the Browns also signed...
They're all... The Jets are paying all 3 of those guys more than the Browns did when they went 1-15.
Yeah, which is very sad. Like, Terrell Pryor doesn't have any sort of resume other than, in 2016, I was the only receiver that Cleveland had.
1 year at the Browns is his only resume.
Yeah. It's just so disheartening to think about. Yeah, but the Browns also signed EJ Gaines. Had it right the first time. A cornerback. No. He was formerly on the Bills, but EJ Gaines is a cornerback. I think he's 25, and he's one of the top-rated corners. So the Browns have now rebuilt their entire defensive backfield, and feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good about it. I don't know.
John, I'm ready for the draft. What is it, T-minus 4 weeks?
It's too long. It's the end of April, which is nuts. It's a long way away. And so the rumor mill gets to continue to spin. And, Cody Kessler also traded to the Jaguars, so he will be back up to Blake Bortles.
Thursday, April 26th.
Thursday, April 26th?
First day of the draft. First round of the draft.
Got it. Cool. Also in Browns news, I put together a tribute video for Joe Thomas, so be sure to check that out on YouTube. Some of my favorite clips of him of all time, so be sure to check that out and subscribe to our YouTube channel because it's pretty sweet.
The YouTube.
And Skull and Bones will always be on YouTube as well now that we're doing the live streaming thing. Yeah. So
yes, it will. John, who are the Browns picking first overall?
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
I mean, with everybody moving up and moving down, they're going to take the quarterback that they want, and it feels like Sam Darnold is the quarterback that they want. I don't know.
Quite unfortunate.
I don't see them taking Josh Allen. I'll be kind of mad if they do.
Who do you want? Who do you want?
I'm okay with Sam Darnold. I
You
don't.
are okay with
I don't think Baker Mayfield is worth a number one pick.
He can throw with the Browns.
Hey, you can throw in the rain. It's great.
Look a little bit of Dickie Vitale.
No, I think like Baker Mayfield.
Hey, baby, you can throw in the rain.
If you trade out of the number 4 spot for whatever reason, you could probably get Mayfield wherever you end up going down to. So I don't know. I don't see them taking Baker Mayfield. I don't see them taking Josh Rosen. They're not going to take Mason Rudolph, that's for sure. So I think they're going Sam Darnold number 1. Yeah, Brandon Weeden just got paid. I forget where he went, but he went to the Texans. Texans or
He was already on
Cowboys.
the Texans, wasn't he?
He got re-signed them by the Texans.
Re-signed by the Texans because this is what Deadspin says. Texans signed Brandon Weeden because they learned nothing.
Yeah. Poor guys.
That was one day ago.
Nothing
is in italics.
All right. So, well, actually, we didn't touch on this at all. The targeting rule that's going to be in the NFL this year.
Yeah, it changed.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
So the NFL has decided to implement the same targeting rule that applies to the NCAA. So if you are seen doing a helmet-to-helmet hit, they are going to review it. If you are seen as being malicious about it, then you're going to be out of the game. Do you think this changes things in general for the NFL? Is it good change, bad change? What do you think?
I think it's a good change. I think the college rule was better. Are they reviewing these just like they do in college?
Yep.
Like it's an automatic review.
Yeah.
They go and make sure that they made the right call, and if they didn't make the right call, they say sorry, but you still get 15 yards against you.
Now, there are a few schools of thought here. You have the one crew that's like, oh, well, football's already takes long enough, and now we're going to have these 2-minute break times for them to review whether it was a helmet-to-helmet hit. Then you have the other people that are saying, oh, well, safeties and cornerbacks are not going to hit as hard now because they're going to be scared and they're going to miss more tackles. Then you have people saying, well, it's better for the players, so overall it's better for everybody. I kind of go on the side of it's kind of better for everybody, but for more selfish reasons, which are there is probably going to be an increase in offense. Like I think there's a certain amount of offensive flair that you get from this rule being enforced because people are going to have to think about it a lot more, just like they previously had, but now they can actually get ejected for it.
Okay, so new targeting rule. And even more exciting or important is the new catch rule that came out as well.
Yeah, so explain the catch rule. Real quick, the catch thing has been an issue for a long time. So what are they doing to fix it?
Yeah, the 2010 Calvin Johnson rule, you call it the Calvin Johnson rule. You call it the 2014, you call it the Dez Bryant rule. You call it the Jesse James rule this past season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So nobody knows what a catch is.
Yeah.
Changing it this year, the official terminology now states that a catch will have occurred if a player who is in bounds, A, secures control of the ball in his hands or arms before the ball touches the ground, and B, touches the ground in bounds with both feet or any part of his body other than his hands, and C, after A and B have been fulfilled, performs any act common to the game, example, tucking the ball away, extending it toward or over the goal line or the first down line, takes an additional step, turns upfield, or avoids off an opponent, or maintains control of the ball long enough to do so. So, this makes a football play. They actually have it in writing what the makes a football play means.
Yep.
And a lot of the things that weren't being counted before are now considered making a football play, like tucking it or extending the ball a la Jesse James did to get over the goal line. If you take a third step, an additional step, turning upfield, that makes it a catch, and then it will be a fumble. So fumbles are going to be more often than not going to be ruled a fumble before it is ruled an incomplete pass.
So good thing, bad thing.
That was unanimous, 32-0. The owners voted for this one,
which is impressive because rarely does that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing, bad thing.
Good thing. You got it in writing. I think it clarifies it just a little bit more. Yep. Yes, it's still going to be a judgment call, I think, by the officials, but I think now that there is writing that says these things, that will kind of clarify it just a little bit more. There's still going to be people that are going to be mad. There's still going to be a couple of times this year that people are like, well, that should be a catch, and it wasn't a catch. So you're not going to please everybody, but I think this clarifies it just a little bit more.
Yeah, talking about the extending, I think that alone will help not screw people over there, as they're reaching out for the goal line. And, you didn't have control. You went to the ground and it wobbled a little bit.
So here's the difference now. How many coaches and are going to get in the wide receivers room and get all the wide receivers together and introduce a new way of catching the ball so that you catch and extend, or you catch and pitter-pat 3 steps right away to get that rule into your favor, to change the rule so you get that catch right away?
I think so. I mean, I foresee
I think it's part
tactics.
Of the game, right? Now you coach to the rule book, right?
It's gamesmanship. So I wouldn't be surprised if people start doing something along those lines, and we see some weirdness coming out of this rule because people can get away with it.
Exactly. I like the rule. I think it's good for the NFL.
Yeah. So rule is pretty good. Catch rule is good. Helmet to helmet is maybe good. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that one pans out. That's the main thing that we're not totally sure about. All right, that'll do it for Skull and Bones. You can find us every single Friday on iTunes, Stitcher, ThatOneSportsShow.com. You can also find our headlines episode, number 140, was just released as well. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter.
YouTube.
Yeah, the thing that you can see right now. Just hit that red button if you're already on YouTube. Subscribe.
Great.
Anything else, Jeff?
Skull Vikings.
All right, and go Brownies. I'm John Hartley.
I'm Jeff Peterson.
There's a dance after that. All right. See you later.